All right, everybody, we are here with a very special guest today. A very special guest today. Someone that is very important to the Northeast Independent Wrestling Circuit, someone who's very important to the start of this podcast. Mr. Don Kincaid, how are you, sir?
What's up, buddy? Wow, what an absolute you know what, Mr. Del Santo, I want to start off with you are such a gem. Since I've met you over at PAPW, I know we're gonna get into a bunch of stuff tonight.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're such a gem. Thank you for the intro, and I am so glad that I have met one Rick Del Santo in my wrestling journey because I'll tell you, my man, we've had a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
it's just been fantastic. So I kind of want to say thank you for reaching out and having me on your show, dude. This is like a flip flop for me because I've done so many interviews and I really dig this. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. You're actually one of the first guests I wanted to get on when I started this. It's just the scheduling process and, me being mostly recording late at night and you're not able to. So I'm finally glad to get this done. So,
Yeah,
Don,
this is awesome. Yes, sir.
you um, basically are involved pretty heavily with the Northeast independent scene between New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and I'm sure there's some other areas in between as well. You drive a lot to
Little,
shows.
little, little Rhode Island action.
Oh, yeah, Rhode Island too. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So, you've been a professional wrestling fan pretty much your whole life, correct?
For the most part, as a kid, yes, absolutely. It was always, and I
Mhm.
mean, I know we're on the same wavelength probably with this, but
Right,
back then, I mean, it was like WWF. You
right,
saw, the Chief Jay Strongbows and the Don Moroccos and the Ivan Putskis and all of those
right,
kind of guys.
right.
That's what I grew up on when I very first started. When I was a little kin COVID. Oh, sorry,
Oh,
I didn't
oh,
mean to say that. Yeah, I know. I didn't. I'm sorry. It just slips out. I am so sorry. But yeah, when I was a little kid, definitely, man. Just watching the TV with Pop,
right.
seeing WWF guys, all of those guys. Bob Backlund was champion for as long as I could remember as a kid.
Oh, yeah. So, my first question is, besides that, is you're a couple years older than me now. No offense to, I don't know if some people, but and that plays a big part as into when you discovered professional wrestling and how you care for professional wrestling. So, when did you discover pro wrestling?
Well, I want to say it was like now memory doesn't serve me as far back, but I want to say like around 5 or 6. I know my pop would have me sit down and we'd watch wrestling back then.
Right,
But what I really remember is about when I was 8, like, and not even TV. What
right,
really hits me when I really jumped into wrestling was when my pop took me to Bristol Central High School in 1978. I'm 8 years old. We go to this thing, and back then it wasn't a packed jam house at these shows that would go to the
right,
schools. There
right,
would maybe be 50, 75, 100 people, sometimes a little more than 100 people at that time. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yep.
Um, but and I really remember that vividly because of some of the names I've already mentioned. But what I really remember, Mr. Del Santo, is Ivan Putski and Tito Santana against the Wild Samoans oh my God, I came with Lou Albano and Bob Backlund as champion
Right.
against Cowboy Bob Orton. Those are the two matches that really stick out to me, and ever since then, I've always run with professional wrestling. Loved it, loved it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the entertainment. I don't know if it's the storylines. I don't know if it's the larger than life characters. What I come to find out, I think, Rick, is it's everything combined
Right.
that makes what wrestling is. Because I've always said it, my friend. It takes so much to become one single person. It takes so much to become a wrestler. So I just really think it's the whole package of wrestling that really kind of draws me to it.
Right. So that was 1978, you said.
Yeah,
So,
78, dude. I just turned 50.
I think. Oh, wow, that's amazing. I still got a couple years, but that was I'm trying to think. That's 10 years before the first show I ever went to. Now I'm
Oh,
gonna tell
okay.
you, yeah, how I discovered professional wrestling in 1984. I loved it. I loved watching anything I can get my hands on, whether it was the WWF, NWA, AWA, World Class, anything that was on my television I can get on my cable. Even the Savoldi's ICW, if you remember that at all. But it was that first live show I went to in 1988 that hooked me. It took about 4 years before I went to my first live show, but once I went to that live show in the New Haven Coliseum, I was absolutely hooked, and it's been a part of me ever since. So
it's crazy how these live events will really grasp your passion for wrestling, because you can watch it on TV all day long. And I guess it's just like any sporting event. If you're really jumping in it, may it be Major League Baseball or NFL or what have you. But if you're not there, it's kind of not the same. And once you're there, you're like, I got to go to these things more often, man. These are so much fun.
And that's what happened during the pandemic. It's it got kind of depressing. For 6 months, we didn't go to a show. Was it 5-6 months? And then went to my first show. How long ago was it? 3 weeks ago? 2-3 weeks ago was that Paradise Alley show. And I got to tell you, it was a blast. I got to see you and several other people that I had not seen in months because everybody was on lockdown. So it was so much fun to get back out there. And I was like, this is what I needed. And I've been fucking depressed sitting inside the house. I don't get to see. And wrestling has changed since this pandemic. I wouldn't say for the worse. I mean, there's definitely a lot of companies doing a lot of creative things to try to continue the product from WWE to the independents, and everyone in between, Impact and everybody. So, how have you been holding up since the pandemic?
Well, I kind of work at I've always been an essential guy. Me essential. But I work at a pizza joint. I've been there for a long time. My old drummer is my boss. We've been friends for a long time. So we've never stopped. We've never stopped since day one. We've worked right through it. I've gone right through it. As far as wrestling is concerned, though, I happen to do sit down face-to-face one-on-one interviews for a little bit called Stirring the Pot. Right. And what happened was once this thing went down, I'm like, what the hell do I do now? Wrestling is shut down. The world is shut down. How do I get to reach out not only to the wrestlers and that accompany it, being referees and ring announcers and such, and promoters, but also my friends that I've met, Rick Del Santo, and friend Eric, and brother Bob, and the list goes on and on. So I started doing it on Skype, and I started reaching out, and that's how I kind of got through it. Because, dude, without that, oh man, and I would always look forward to it because I was doing 3 a night after work, 3 interviews a night after work.
So you had a really long day. Like, you'd work your regular shift and then go do 3 interviews a night. And just, I got to tell you, like I said before, I will explain it. You were killing it with content, seriously. And that was a very good thing during the pandemic. That's why I started, because you're home, you're doing nothing, there's nothing to do, you can't go out. So I started. You invited me on the roundtable, and it gave me the confidence to start my own show, which I had been wanting to do. So I thank you once again, and that was a blast. But you were killing it, 3 interviews a day, and it was so much fun to watch. Pretty much, I think there's very few that I haven't seen. I've pretty much probably seen them all. So.
Well, I appreciate that, because like I've said in most of them, I don't know who's watching besides hopefully my dad and his dog Jake. So I appreciate those kind words. Rick, it was so crazy because I was trying to keep the schedule, and you've got to reach out, and you know how it is reaching out to the men and women out there. It's in any industry, may it be music, may it be art, may it be again NFL, MLB. It doesn't matter. Trying to get those people reeled in, that's a job. Woo! That's a job in its own right, my man. Holy cow! So try to reel in all of those names.
Right. Yep.
And not only was I doing 3 a night, I was doing 4 or 5 on Saturday and 4 or 5 on Sunday. So I was averaging 25 interviews a week, dude. And without doing cocaine, might I add. Without doing cocaine. I don't know how.
My other question is this: How many episodes are you up to now?
Right now, I'm about 182.
Wow, that's amazing.
Now, let me put that in perspective real quick because I did a little bit of math. Not that I'm great at numbers, but what happened was somebody kind of threw that question at me, and I'm like, I don't know. So I went on the old YouTube and I looked back, and the last episode before the COVID shut this shit down, I interviewed. Wow, I drove 2.5 hours, Rick, and I do not shit you not. And that's what I was doing for these face-to-face interviews. I was getting invited by some of these amazing, talented men and women we get to see to their homes. Well, not this one specifically. He stole this one, and then he invited me. But that was King Leon the Sixth.
All right. Yep.
But he is now called King Leon the Black Blade. Don't call him King Leon the Sixth no more. He will behead you. But anywho, I went up there, 2.5 hour ride one way to interview this guy. And we had an absolute blast. Not only that, but he didn't want to be called Squire. He was just Paul, if you will. It was so weird, dude. I had King Leon the Sixth and Paul sitting next to me, and we were interviewing. It was an amazing time. I had Sister Laura. She took the ride with me. We had an absolute blast. But my point being is, that was episode 26. I am up to episode 182, dude, since this COVID shit started.
Is that including your roundtables, or is that just that's including?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. That's really an amazing episode. So you keep yourself busy. Are you on hiatus now? Are you continuing, or you're just kind of whatever pops up?
Well, I wanted to take a break. Then I started sprinkling them in, and then after that, I wanted to take another little break because life is throwing. Dude, you know that scene in Airplane, and I know you do, when the shit hits the fan?
Yeah.
That's Kincaid's life right now. It's an absolute tornado, a tornado, if you will. So I kind of did pull it back for a while until I can get my shit together and be able to, you know, like we're sitting here having fun and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do that at every single interview. I don't want to come home and be like, oh, fuck, I got an interview. I don't want to do that because with the way my life is going on, it's kind of effed up. And I don't want to feel like I don't want to be feeling like shit or, I just want to have fun when I do that. You know me, man.
Absolutely.
You just have fun.
Exactly.
I am on a hiatus, but I am definitely going to continue, hopefully soon. I did have a little soiree last week with Dirtbag Dan. He reached out to me. Out of everybody in the universe, he reaches out to me.
I see he just had a child, correct?
He did. Baby Dirt. She's beautiful. Roxanne, oh my God, she's beautiful. There's pictures with the grander, as Dirtbag likes to say. Because now Dirtbag Dan is Dirtbag Dad. So now Dirtbag Dad has taken on the role of the grand Dirt as he has Roxanne with him. It's such a beautiful family. I love them guys to pieces.
Right.
But yeah, he wanted to come in. Now, Mr. Del Santo, not only did he come on my show for that announcement, specifically my show for that, well, not my show, because that's our show. Not only for that announcement, my friend, he gave a second announcement. And little by little, there's been promotions. Now there's a graphic that's been put out as of this past week. And holy shit, Rick Del Santo, hang on to your... What are you drinking there, my friend?
Vodka and ginger.
Hold on to your vodka and ginger, because the second announcement was Dirtbag Dan versus the franchise. Wait. Let me announce this correctly. The Dirtologist, Dirtbag Dan, versus the franchise Shane Douglas in a steel cage match. Are you shitting me, my friend?
Where is this happening?
Indiana. Dirtbag is taking the Dirtmobile all the way across the country to do this shit.
I'd say I drive to that, but that's quite the freaking drive, man.
Dude, I've known about this for quite some time before all of this hootenanny started hollering around here. And I will tell you one thing. If this was any closer, I would have told him. I would have kept it secret in our round table, and I would have said, let's take a fucking road trip. It's Dirtbag Dan versus Shane Douglas. I mean, come on.
That's probably. Oh my God, I don't even know how that came about. But, all I heard was that he put the challenge out there and then it was accepted. So, former NWA World Champion. I mean, even though it was just a brief second, but you
Hey,
know, but
the whole ECW run. I mean, holy,
amazing, right?
holy, yeah.
Amazing,
So, little by little, Dirtbag Dan was on this card, okay, as it was building up.
right?
Now, the card was set for the most part. Shane Douglas had, and I forget, there's two older names that we would know, but I can't remember for the life of me right now. Was set to face Shane Douglas. One had to drop out, so one guy came in and replaced him. Well, second guy that came in and replaced him had to bow out. So Dirtbag Dan put it out there saying blah 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 and blah blah blah, had to bail on the event. So Shane Douglas don't have an opponent. You guys haven't given me an opponent. So what's good? And oh my God, dude, September 25th, I believe it's this Friday coming up, my
Wow.
man. Yeah. And I know I'm yelling probably a little bit, and I'm probably waking up. I'm probably waking up some of my household, but I don't care because I'm very excited about this match, dude. But I really wish it was closer because holy crap, we've seen Dirtbag Dan so many times. I've seen him at Test of Strength. I've seen him in Paradise Alley Pro. I've seen some stuff on the Tube. I've seen in his home promotion, ECW. I don't know. His home promotion, who knows? He's a vagabond. He don't have no home. But anyways, I've seen him in so many different places, and I have a place in my heart for Mr. Dirtbag
Right.
Dan. So to see him get this kind of this opportunity, man, I am so excited for this guy. And I've been rambling about this match, and I apologize.
That's quite all right because honestly, I did not come prepared because I thought we would just shoot the shit because
Yes.
getting to know Don Kincaid because
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
always one doing the interviews, So so you mentioned that now that we're on the subject of Dirtbag Dan, he was always a name that I heard for a few years because honestly, I was always into professional wrestling, but there was a couple years I was out. I went through a divorce, so I ended up bowing out and worrying about being an adult, I guess would be the word. So, instead of going to shows, and then I met my second wife, and her son was into WWE, so I started taking him to WWE shows, and then attempted to bring him to independent shows, but he was more about the big shows than the little shows. But and then what really hooked me was about 2 years ago. I ran into, now I just actually saw this. This popped up on my Facebook memories this past week. I ran into Paul Roma in a gas station. So, mind you, when I was a kid in the 80s, early 90s, I was a huge Paul Roma fan. I always thought he was terribly underrated. Mm-hmm. And I told the story when I interviewed El Ref. I went, grabbed a bottle of water out of the fridge, had turned around, and there's Roma sitting there. And, holy shit, you're Paul Roma, And he goes, yes, I am. We ended up having to talk for about a good 5-10 minutes. He invited me down to Paradise Alley for a show. I've been to every show since. I think there was only one show I've missed. So, and out of all of them, I think it was Jingle Brawl last year, maybe. I think it was one in the winter. Either way, I've had the time of my life rediscovering independent wrestling in the last couple of years, and and then making some really great friends because I always thought professional wrestling drew people together. You're one of the first people I ever met at a Paradise Alley show, probably the second show you were sitting in front of me. So, I'm very thankful for discovering pro wrestling. Yeah, and I thought it was kind of funny because I did not know you, but it seemed like you were very much part of the show. The guys would kind of walk by you, stop yawning, Don, or something, to something like that, and I thought it was hilarious. I was like, who is this guy? 2 years later, you're one of my favorite people to see at shows and talk to, and one of my favorite YouTubers as well. So.
Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. Our friendship, man, PAPW, it used to be because before I started going, all I remember, because it hasn't been a whole lot longer alive before I discovered PAPW.
Right.
So they were only having their bigger shows at the Malillo High School there.
Right.
And that's all they had. But dude, I mean, there was a lot of people that were coming to these things. So me and my pop, we started going to them a little bit regularly, right? Then they started dropping off the bigger shows a little bit more, and they started doing this thing at their school because they used to do this Friday Night Alley fight thing previous, I guess.
Right.
And I don't know if it worked out the best for them or whatever, or why they ever just stopped doing it, but it was for free. And it just didn't seem to work out for them. And then a couple of the guys behind the scenes, even being wrestlers as well, kind of grabbed that ball and said, hey, why don't you let us try it? They did the first one, and it was, dude, that place must have had like 70 people there, at least. There was people standing up. I mean, it was awesome over there. I could not believe the turnout for that small venue. It was so much fun. And like I think with yourself, if I've missed two since they've started all of the, Friday Night Alley fights, and one was specifically for that, like 100-degree, really nasty, humid, and I know what their setup is, and I felt myself, and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to survive that specific evening, so I bowed out. That was one of those specific days.
That's one thing, is that it's a very tiny room, and it is hot as fuck in that room. And even with that gigantic, garage door opened up, it does not help, like, at all. It's just 75 people or whatever crammed into that place. It's you walk away and you got the marks under your man tits, like. So yeah, those shows are like, I think I prefer the Friday night shows, the alley fights, or if you prefer at the schools, than the big shows, because something about the intimacy in those smaller shows that just really, they're just a lot of fun,
I was just going to kind of reiterate that there is something about those when you walk into a room with a ring and a small amount of chairs.
Yep.
I absolutely love that environment, Rick. I mean, holy shit. I mean, how fun is it when you're sitting, and it doesn't matter if you're sitting first, second, third, or whatever, how many rows are in this place. Because it only, you're holding anywhere between 40 to, maybe 50 chairs at best sometimes. I'm just taking a wild guesstimate. So, I mean, I don't know what they put in there.
Right.
But I mean, how freaking cool is it to get some Richard Halliday, for Christ's sake? Look at what he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, the guy is, he's killing it in MLW. But even though, it was about a year and a half back, I was, I even said to Big Daddy, I was like, that kid looks like a star. Looks like he's got the WWE look, so to speak.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's certain looks, and I would not be surprised if he moved there, or even the EW, whichever, and became a huge star, because that dude has got all the talent in the world, man. He's great.
I think for us as fans, and it's the same thing at Test of Strength. And Test of Strength is even smaller. I don't know if you've ever been to a training day in East Hartford.
I've never been there, but I've seen the videos on YouTube. Now, that's one thing I really need to get to, because they're usually scheduled on Sundays, the training days. I usually work my part-time job on Sundays, so they're always start like while I'm there already. So, however, I don't know if that part-time job is going to be sticking with me that much longer. I've been there 25 years, and I'm quite frankly, I'm tired. I don't really need it. I'm tired of it. I work in a record store. You know what I mean? I've always been a huge record collector, and all sorts of music. So I would rather be doing something else on a Sunday than sitting in a record store. So maybe, I hope eventually one day I'll get out to one of those shows, because they look like they're incredible. I mean, I know they put some of the full events up on YouTube, and I have watched them. So
yeah, I mean, the room itself, you walk into it, and it's set up in like an old industrial factory building.
Right.
Like when you first drive up there, you get to where your GPS says you're here. You call bullshit. You're like, no, this ain't the place. This is where somebody gets killed, like in a horror film kind of fucking place. So the very first time me and my dad drove there, I pulled into this little tiny parking lot, and I re-GPS'd it. And she said again, you're here. And I called bullshit again. But then I looked around and I looked behind me as I parked in this little parking lot, and I seen a couple guys walking up this back freaking door stairwell rather
Yep.
stairway, and I'm like, I wonder if that's the way to get up to wrestling. You know what my father does? He goes, go ahead, check it out. You don't care if I get freaking killed in this. We don't know where we are. We're at East Hartford. I'm not saying, nothing bad about East Hartford, but come on, man. So, anywho, I go up there and I go, hey, is this where oh, shit. Dude, you open up the door, and it's basically their dressing room.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's this long-ass hallway, and then you walk down this hallway, then there's another long-ass hallway, and then you take a quick right, you open up the door. It's literally, Rick, a room with a ring with about 20 chairs in there, maybe 30 at best.
Wow.
And again, it's that intimate setting, dude. It is so much fun in there.
They always watch. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no. I was going to say, we get to see, it's the same thing at PAPW. You get to see their homebred talent, like at PAPW now we see the likes of The Haven, Dustin Waller, Zachariah Gibbs, and the list goes on. King Kylon now.
That kid's good. That kid's really. That match he had at Paradise Alley last week with Magnificent Marcos, 2 thumbs up. I'm telling you, I really thought that match was phenomenal.
And not only that, he gave the old fist bump to my nephew Jacob, and Jacob was all about it. That was pretty cool.
That's amazing.
I actually reached out to Kylon on that too, and I was like, "Hey man, I appreciate coming out." And he's like, "Dude, that's what it's all about." I go, "I appreciate it, man."
Yeah, it makes a whole difference in the world because sometimes I bring my little son Jameson with me, my youngest son, who's now 5, and he loves Dread. Him and Dread like connect for some reason, and it's amazing.
I've seen that.
So it's like he loves Bull Dread and Dread. So it's just every time they see each other, it's awesome, man. So.
But the PAPW, they have their homebred talent. Same thing. TOS, they have their homebred talent. Plus, they bring in some names as well. We've seen so many. Dude, I've seen Thomas Santel there so many times. I can't even count on both hands how many times I've seen Thomas. That's just one name that I can just spit out at you. And to see Thomas Santel in a very intimate environment like that, do his thing. The entertainment value that he brings, the ring prowess, the veteran knowledge that he brings, everything that one guy brings to the table as a character is worth taking a drive from wherever you are, because it's effing free, my man. It's effing free on a Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. How can you go wrong?
Let me tell you a funny story about that, Mr. Santel. I didn't realize who the fuck that was when I saw him wrestling Beyond. And then for some reason, he kept popping up on my Facebook feed. And then I didn't realize he was the Promise. I was like, what the fuck? I said, no fucking way. So then I had to go and compare pictures. I was like, oh, son of a bitch. I said, I didn't even know he was still around. But I remember seeing him on you remember Sheldon Goldberg's promotion, New England Championship Wrestling?
Oh yeah.
They used to run Hamden a bunch of times. I think one of their first shows was in Hamden back in early 2000s. 2 people on that show that I saw, that first show that they had, and I said, these 2 people are going to be huge. He was one of them. Mercedes Martinez was the other. And now look where she is. It only took her 18 years to get where she is now. But
yeah, you know what? Talent always puts a number. I've seen that in the locker rooms and just in general conversation. That number, because everybody wants to know how long have you been in the biz,
right.
Okay? But to quote unquote make it, to that higher platform, if you will, being some of those call letters, being the WWE, AEW, ROH, Impact, all of those.
Right.
I say it's just like an age, Rick, really, when it comes to wrestling and not that it's you sweep that number under the rug. That's not what I'm trying to say at all.
Right.
but it doesn't kind of matter to a degree. If you freaking make it and it does take X amount of years, just know in your heart and your mind and your soul and everything you've put into it, it doesn't matter if it was 6 years or if it was 10 years or 19 years.
Right.
I say all of it is worth it in the long run. I really do, because look at when she signed into NXT. Everybody already knew who she was.
Right.
Everybody already knew how her style was and how her knowledge across the globe that she's gained. And I mean, dude, and we do know Martinez across the globe, the knowledge that she has and brought to her NXT debut. You knew that there was no way they were not going to sign her and not going to let her go on top of that.
I was so happy for her because, like I said, it's just a wrestler I've been watching from the area for years, for what, 2 decades, the better part of 2 decades.
Now, I didn't get into, like, really hard into the independent scene until 2016. Okay. So I haven't really been in this game, if you will, for that long. What drew me in was I quit music. I was a guitar. I mean, I guess I am a guitar player. You never die from that. But I was a guitar player and I stopped music. So I wanted another hobby. And I'm like, I dig wrestling. Why don't I just look up someplace that has, like local wrestling? And I didn't realize that it was called indie wrestling. Right. So the word indie wrestling was throwing me off as I'm trying to Google local wrestling. I'm getting all of this old article content. Like, I'm like, what is all of this shit? Like, there's no wrestling nowadays, So I did a little bit of reading of the articles and I realized that it's called indie wrestling. So I ended up at a PvP show up in South Hadley at their regular location that used to be at the American Legion. I was effing hooked. I went back in the closers with Big Bacon and Hammer Tunis. I'm telling you, Rick, those 2 guys and Joey DiNucci as their manager, those 3 guys as a team totally, absolutely hooked me. Now, TK Orion came in later into that faction after even I started in the wrestling. Mm-hmm. So he became part of that faction. Dude, they were pure freaking money. So I just wanted to go back, and then it just drew me to more wrestling and more wrestling and more wrestling. And I just kept up looking, who else can I discover? Who else can I discover? Because wrestling when we were growing up, I grew up on World Class Championship Wrestling. Yep. With that Von Erichs. And when Rick Rude first came in, when Percy Pringle brought him in and was his guy, who became Paul Bearer later down the road. Right. But I mean, AWA and that kind of stuff. That's what I really dug, man. We watch the WWF stuff, but I absolutely, absolutely loved the WCCW, man. Really dug that stuff.
That's exactly how I was. I think it's when you're a kid or that age, when you're first discovering professional wrestling, I don't think no matter who you are, what age, bracket, it's always WWE/WWF. Mm-hmm. If you discovered wrestling, say post 1984 or something like that, you know what I mean? WWF was always the go-to, the biggest thing, the go-to, and that's what hooked you. And of course, that's what hooked me. I used to come home from school and WCCW was on every day at 4:00 on ESPN. You know what I mean? So I used to watch that every day. I'd come home at, nope, can't do nothing. World Class is on. Gotta go. Which eventually that turned to USWA and then Global Wrestling. But Saturday nights was AWA and 11 or 12 on ESPN. So I had to stay up late to watch AWA. Those 2 were the first things outside of WWF that really got me into professional wrestling. I was legitimately hooked between that and 1980s NWA, which to me, starting to really get into it at 88, 89, that is the greatest time period, especially 1989 NWA. I was just blown away. I go back and watch this stuff and I'm just like, holy shit, this stuff is amazing. It's you can't get any better than this.
It's crazy how when Billy Corgan brought this back to us, because I know he's a wrestling fan, but
He
son of a
absolutely is.
bitch, that NWA, that was for nothing but the fans, to be honest with you. But to bring it back and keep it so damn retro the way he did, I mean,
love
even
it.
Into the Fire, bro. When
Yes,
you heard Into the
yes.
Fire, I was like, holy shit.
I'm gonna be honest. I was very pissed off when they changed the theme song and used Pantera instead, because I was like, the Dokken song was fitting so much,
Yeah,
so well.
that was a head scratcher, wasn't it?
Yeah, because and then all of a sudden it just kind of like didn't last long. That's when like COVID hit, and then a couple episodes in, and it was out the door. So
the theme song really was a head scratcher for me, and I'm sure many of the fans, if you read it, definitely many of the fans.
Yeah.
So, but the whole retroness of it was just amazing that he kept that vibe. The studio, even the commercials in between with the high spot commercials were all corny and shit.
Between that, the Tony Falk tire irons and waffles, I was like, Tony Falk is such a random name to choose to, because I was like, he was just that guy in World Class that wore the funky tights, and then it was just like, why him of all people, you know?
No entrance music. No pyro, no production. When the announcer announces you, it's Rick Del Santo.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like
you got David Marquez as the announcer, who's just it's like, probably, you know, what he does for the business is amazing as well, between United Wrestling Network and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Arizona. Yeah. Have you seen the new the show that they started, Primetime Live?
I kind of have, because that's a brand spanking new thing. Now, I've tried following the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood for a while, and that's how I kind of seen the NWA kind of dip its toes in there, and that's how it and that's where I started seeing it. But there's so much wrestling out there, Mr. Del Santo. Plus, there's really life. Yeah, plus there's life to be had.
Right.
So you can't keep up with all of them, but you see sprinkles of it.
Right.
So yeah, I do have to get on that train. But there's one thing that I did want to mention. I know we were getting away from the NWA conversation. There's one specific piece of the puzzle that without it, it wouldn't have been NWA at all. Everything that we spoke of was absolutely NWA, especially the 10 pounds of gold.
The belt. The belt, yep.
But besides that, the podium, my friend, without that podium, it would have totally not be NWA.
Right. I think it's phenomenal. And it's just like the way they redid that, it doesn't necessarily, it looks retro, but it doesn't look like it's from the 70s or 80s. You know what I mean? It's the setup is the retro part, but it's like, it's still modern enough to maybe draw that fan that might actually watch wrestling for the actual wrestling. You know what I mean? Rather than the pyro and the booms and all the flashy lights and stuff.
I do want to touch upon something real quick though.
Absolutely.
We were on a topic of so much wrestling previous, and that's what got us on this topic. And that was actually my point, because when we grew up on wrestling, you did have some of a variety. But dude, nowadays, oh my God, and I don't want to sound like one of those guys that says, get off my lawn like a Ryan Frost. Ryan Frost. But I'm telling you, dude, the kids just would never, they would feel our pain if we would describe what we had to do to watch wrestling. Because man, there is so much wrestling nowadays to pick and choose from. It's just so amazing to see it over time.
Streaming devices or apps, Fight, the amount of free content that Fight has, Twitch is all the independent companies, a lot of independent companies, even AAA in Mexico, has their big events on Twitch, YouTube, all these streaming platforms. There's IWTV as well. There's just so many places for every single company to go and stream their devices, stream their content. It's an amazing time, because back then we had UHF TV, and we had to try to find that whatever NWA territory show we were able to get in syndication or whatever back in the day.
Yeah, and it was always going through. Now, kids, check this shit out. Now hear these words. It wasn't the way it is nowadays, with all
Yeah.
of the way it is. And again, I don't want to sound like Ryan Frost. Ryan Frost's going to strangle me if he listens to this. I don't want to sound like the guy that yells, "Get off my fucking lawn." But let me tell you something. You had to get off your ass. You had to get up to the TV. Now, there was a thing called a dial knob. Not only one, but two of them. Now, check this out. The first one would go boom, 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 boom. You would get the 3, the 30, the 8, and some of the ones in between. But then the secondary dial, that was the go-to for wrestling. That was the shit right there, because you would click that 1,000 times before you could find, like Mr. Dos Santos said, that one Mid-South or somewhere that you could find that was kind of staticky but still tolerable to watch.
Yeah.
You just don't know our pain, what we had to go through to watch wrestling.
I'm trying to think of other wrestling shows that I was trying to get as a kid. Pro Wrestling USA. You know, we had to find that on TV. Certain AW, the syndicated AWA show. There was just so much that there was also one-off independent companies. You know what I mean? Between, like I said, the Savoldis, or there was that IWF, which was on Sports Channel. I don't know if you remember that. There was always all these little companies that would have shows for a little while. Like I said, you had to hunt for them on that knob and try to get that damn channel in them. I watched a lot through the fuzz, just enough to see, through the scramble. So I've discovered a lot of great wrestling that way as well.
Absolutely. As we speak about this, I've had these flash memories of different little indie shows before I really got into indie, like I was saying, in 2016. One company comes to mind specifically. Well, there's a couple because they all kind of branched off. But there is a DPW nowadays. It's called Dissension Pro Wrestling.
Is that the one from they used to book in Naugatuck? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, previously, it was called Defiant Pro Wrestling. Now, out of that, there was an ACW, Assault Championship Wrestling, that was run by Jason Knight from ECW.
I remember. Yep.
And I've gone to some of their stuff where we saw the likes of Balls Mahoney being their hardcore champion. Shit like that. I mean, dude, these little flash memories of getting in your life, going to the Sports Palace in New Britain. It was an indoor soccer place. And I saw Abdullah the Butcher and Tony Atlas.
I loved that building. I've gone to several different wrestling organizations in that building. I think one was IPW. Rick Bronski was their champion. I don't know if you know who that is, but he wrestled for Stampede Wrestling in the 80s, and he made his way to Connecticut, New Britain, Connecticut. I'm trying to think. That's where I discovered guys like Devon Storm and Ace Darling. The Reckless Youth was there. And then they would bring in some WCW guys too. I think, and then Public Enemy was there. That promotion brought in guys that just so happened to be in other promotions. They had a connection with WCW and a connection. I remember taking a leak in the stalls. This guy comes up and using the stall next to me. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going?" It's fucking Ted Petty, Rocco Rock from Public Enemy. I'm like, "Oh hey, how's it going, man?" It's like that was my first experience, like in a bathroom, and then so these guys use the bathroom too here. It's like, so it was cool. That building was an amazing building, and I wish they still booked wrestling. I've seen so many different great shows there, man.
That was a fun place for wrestling.
Yeah, it really was. I think I discovered the first time I saw Tony DeVito was at an indie show there as well. And you could fit a lot of people in there too. You could fit a decent amount of people. So
and it was a cool setup because they would have the wrestling down on the bottom, and they would have merch tables and shit. But not everybody wanted to sit. They all wanted to kind of hang around that kind of walkway area that led up to the second floor, if you will.
There was a bar upstairs. Yep.
Yeah.
And,
so there was a lot of interesting people there, and I was younger back then.
Yeah. I think I was I think it was an early. I remember rumors the guy that booked the shows there said that ECW was supposed to come in there. I don't know if they actually ever did because I never heard about it, but um, I did see a lot of ECW talent there. 911, I saw. I think on the first show
Hmm.
that I saw there, he was there, and that was just like I said, a fun building. I wish is that building still around? Do you know of? Or
Not that I know of.
yeah.
I'm positive that there was the way it was set up. There was residential around it. I
Hmm.
was to understand it turned into some kind of store or
Okay.
whatever, but I don't know. But that was like years and years and years ago, so I don't even know, man, what it would be now. But there's another building that I'd like to speak of is the Sting. I saw ECW
Yes,
at the Sting.
there's a rock club as well. Yes,
Yes.
they booked. You can think of any band that was any band through the 80s and
Yeah.
90s. They played there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a huge rock club back then.
And ECW actually closed out one of their very last dates of the Sting's calendar.
Right.
And we whew, we got to see Sabu get on a ladder, and there was two ceiling fans that were slowly
Yeah.
rotating on the ceiling, and he attempted to grab said ceiling fan and utilize it somehow, thinking that it was going to hold his body weight somehow, and it snapped as soon as he got off the ladder, and it broke, right?
Yeah.
He came flying down on the other side of the ring, and we all thought that he fucking died. We really thought that he died. And the crowd, I've never been in any situation except for a mosh pit one time that comes to mind at the Webster, where everybody in the crowd was just like,
I'm sorry to laugh, but
yeah,
it's you
he's
watching that
dead.
guy, like watching him in person. Like I've seen him live many times at ECW shows, and he's not always been the. I don't know what he's thinking sometimes when he goes for those maneuvers. Like it's like, how am I going to survive this? Is what he should be thinking. But I remember I was in Buffalo, whatever pay per view that was in Buffalo. I was there and literally waiting in line, and he just comes walking out the door, just running across the street, going to get something to eat. It was pretty funny. It's like, and they would the people at the front would always collect the weapons. People remember ECW used to be the fans bring the weapons thing. There's just
Oh yeah.
a garbage pail where security was collecting all the weapons, and I just saw like an old Nintendo and all this other random crap in it. It was hilarious to see back in I think 1999. It was a lot of fun. Those shows were a lot of fun to go to, but
Yeah.
I think I expressed on one of the earlier episodes. Every time that I went to an ECW show, there'd always be some sort of riot or fight in the crowd, or because the fans were a little nuts on top of it. So, but that was part of the charm, of
Yeah.
ECW. So, when did you? You said that you really got full into independent wrestling in 2016.
Mhm.
What independent wrestling were you familiar with prior to that, like when you were younger?
NEW for the most part because they would
Right.
go to
Everywhere.
like Terryville High School, Bristol Central High School, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Torrington High School, Waterbury, at Crosby. So they were always in Connecticut. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't go to a ton of shows back then, but I did sprinkle them in enough to see some really cool stuff. I mean, I'm talking like Jerry Lawler in a cage match for Christ's sake
Yes.
at Bristol Central High School. I mean, come on.
I've met him a couple times, and he like at I think the last one was like 2 days after his son had passed, after Brian Christopher passed, and he was working an NEW date. He actually made the date, even though and I was just like, and you can definitely like he was still very nice and friendly, but you could definitely see there was still a lot of hurt in his eyes, and I felt terrible for him. So I opted not to say anything because I just I didn't want to try to push that. Push bad feelings kind of a thing if I'm
Now,
making sense, but
no, absolutely. Do you know, post heart attack, that he works 150 events a year?
the guy's insane. The guy's insane. I mean, he's
Holy shit.
you don't become the king of Memphis just, not recovering from a heart attack. So, did you ever see? I saw a couple months back he's selling his Batmobile, his replica Batmobile. So I don't know if he's a huge comic collector, but there's an article. I'm gonna have to send it to you. That I guess he's got some sort of like collector's room in his house. It's got all his like memorabilia of like comic books and stuff like that. He's got this awesome like Christopher Reeve like Superman thing. That guy is probably one of the biggest comic nerds I've ever known. But it's like it's no shame. He's like what 70 years old, and it's like he's still into that stuff. It's pretty awesome.
I have an amazingly funny story, even though there was tears in the long run. I have an amazingly funny story from an NEW show, and it had Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe both on the same show. And it was when Samoa Joe was actually TNA champion at the time. And this kid that was with his dad was one row in front of us. I was with my pop, and he was with his dad. And there was a guy that was sitting next to us. And he was bald, and he loved him some Kurt Angle. And he kind of looked like Kurt Angle. And this kid must have been about 8-ish around. Yeah. And he swore that was Kurt Angle hanging out watching wrestling with us. And he thought it was the coolest effing thing. And this guy ran with it, right? The show is going on. Now, we do know that if there's a guy like Kurt Angle on the show, he's going to be in the latter part of the show.
Right.
So the show has gone through. Intermission has come and gone. It continues. Kurt Angle comes out. His music hits. He walks through the curtain. The kid sees Kurt Angle. He looks back. He sees the guy that's been sitting next to us the whole show that he thinks is Kurt Angle, and starts crying waterfalls.
Oh, my God.
He is so fucked up in the head. He does not know. He's not comprehending what's happening right now.
Oh, wow.
I will never forget that. And I don't know why I do find it so comical at his device. I really do.
It's hilarious, but
man, from our point of view, holy shit, Rick! I will never forget that as a fan at an NEW show forever. I will never forget that.
They've put on some huge shows, like a lot of fun shows. I think it's not the first independent show that I've gone to was an NEW show, but I definitely been to plenty. That's how I met Big Daddy, was through seeing him the first time, and he's posted this footage plenty of times when he worked with Yokozuna, Jim Neidhart, and the other guy there, Jake Roberts. Sorry, I forgot his name. But on one of those shows, I also discovered Low-Key and the recently deceased Xavier like wrestling each other early in the show. And, little did I know, a couple years later, those dudes would be pretty relevant in the independent scene. I mean, Low-Key had some time in WWE and TNA, but that's the fun part of. Go for it.
No, you continue. I'm gonna grab this shirt because I have a Big Daddy story as well, and I hope I can find this shirt because I have, I don't know, 70,000 black shirts in my fucking closet, Rick.
No, I hear that, man, because I was going through mine today trying to find something to wear. I got too many of them.
It's like, which black shirt do I wear today?
It was just fun and that's the fun part about independent wrestling is you are also discovering guys that you may just see on television later on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That could be the biggest star coming up.
Yeah. You know what? And I've pointed that out on interviews and such. I absolutely love the indie scene for that reason and that reason solely because we get to see, not only as a fan, do we get to see these fine men and women like get training. Oh, here it is. Excellent. Get training, start working their way up and get onto the bigger platforms and such. But I mean, shit like this, Rick. I've interviewed Elijah Six. He's never had an interview before. I caught him after a show and I asked him if he wanted to do it after the very first training day.
Right.
And he kind of questioned, like, he was almost like, me, and I've approached many people like that have
Right.
either never done a promo, even though if they've been in it a little bit because maybe their confidence weren't there or whatever.
Right.
And you know me, dude. I will try to make anybody feel as comfortable as possible. I will, if we have to laugh at me to get that done,
Right.
let's do that. And so I've run into firsts, and man, I love that about independent wrestling, Rick, because
Right.
now we get to see them grow in
Right.
different stages of their career. And even if they don't get to WWE, and I know, like a girl like Sasha, she was, chaotic. She was
Right.
like chaotic for a while.
Yeah.
And she was all over the place, not just chaotic, but she was all over the place in our area, in the New England scene for quite some time. And so whenever she got on that stage, man, the people around here were flipping shit when she actually got in.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And then you're friends
Yeah.
with people on Facebook that, such wrestlers that worked with, say, her. And, it's amazing because then they're just like, they talk about all this great stuff when she's on TV about working with her in great places like Chaotic. And Chaotic, I got to tell you, I'm glad you brought Chaotic Wrestling up because that's like one of my favorite promotions to watch. I love Chaotic Wrestling.
Mm-hmm. I've been to one show.
Yeah.
It is a little haul for me, but myself, my dad, and a friend of mine, we went up to a Chaotic, and it was JT Dunn, challenger, versus Chase Del Monte, the champion. Did I call him Chase Del Monte? Is that correct?
I don't.
No, and I always said, I always said if he hears me call him that, he would fucking rip my head off of my neck.
Now you got me thinking.
Yeah. Anywho, he was the champion, and it was in a cage.
Yeah.
And that was the only time I've ever been. Bobby Ocean made his debut there, if I'm not mistaken, against Brick House something.
I know who you're. I know who you're referring to. I'm trying to. I don't remember the.
He's been out of the game for a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't correctly remember his name, but I see some fantastic names up there. Flip Gordon was New England champion. Mm-hmm. He went against Brian Malonis. I mean, it was a really fun show, but it's just quite a haul for me to regularly go there and keep up with their storyline. So, like you bringing it up, watching it and being able to see Elevated on Thursdays or whatever the day. Oh,
yep. YouTube.
Stuff. Yeah.
Speaking of which, you brought up JT Dunn. We interviewed him probably about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and I got to tell you, he was one of the coolest people to talk to. So smooth, and I was just like, I was kind of nervous about going in it because I get nervous sometimes with people I don't necessarily know or guys that are actually involved heavily in the scene. You know what I mean? But he was just like, yeah, sure, no problem. He was one of the coolest dudes, nicest, and he even complimented and said, thank you so much. This was one of the smoothest interviews I've ever done. And that made us feel like so much better because we were both nervous going in. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because he hasn't done many since the whole pandemic thing started,
right.
if any, really at all.
Yeah.
There was a show in Groton, I want to say 2018, but I might be off. I'm not really positive. But anywho, it was Constitution State Wrestling. It was JT. It was co-main evented. JT Dunn against Matt Cross. It was the only time that I've seen Matt Cross live, and that was post Son of Havoc. And I'm not taking anything at all away from Gangrel and Trigger OG because that was the main event. Right. But I am telling you, in hindsight, because of the way their match was, and I hope nobody kills me for this, that should have been the main event because, my God, Rick, what an amazing match. And not only that,
I imagine.
Not only that, but I would try, and not many shows I can accomplish it, but I would try. And I knew the promoter, or I'm familiar with the promoter of Constitution State Wrestling. And I asked him if they allow me, if I go chase them down and try to get a little interview, is it cool if I do it in your promotion? He goes, yeah, not a problem. So I hit up JT Dunn. He absolutely gave me some time. We had a blast with it. And then I walked over across the room, and Matt Cross was packing up and I got one with Matt Cross. I got
That's
one with
amazing.
each of them in the same night. I was blown away as a fan, Rick, because it was like I just got JT and Matt Cross in the same night in a Kincaid file. Don Kincaid's in the ring. I mean, come on. I'm an idiot, and I get these two guys. Are you kidding me?
Those are on your channel?
No, those I'll reshare them. I'll reshare them tonight. Actually, I haven't been on the book. My life has been tweaking my brain, and I haven't been on the book in maybe a day and a half, and a day and a half for myself not being on the book. That feels like a month. So tonight, after we're done with this, I'm gonna reshare the JT Dunn and the Matt Cross ones that we did at Constitution State Wrestling.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in checking those out, even though you know they're a couple years old. But
yeah, and they're quickies though. The Kincaid files, they're really quick ones.
Yeah, Jake. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, this shirt that you're speaking of, I want to ask you about. What the hell is it?
Okay, so it was Northeast Wrestling. All right, but in the back is where it counts. Holiday Havoc. All right, and we are talking, if I'm not mistaken, Saturday, December 9th, 2006. Okay.
Yep.
Now the main event was AJ Styles versus Jay Lethal versus the then champion, the then NEW champion, Xavier, as you mentioned previous, in a ladder match.
Right.
Okay? Now, the reason why I bring this up is I met Big Daddy there, and I never knew who Big Daddy was. We're talking 2006, okay? And he was with the Outcast Killers.
Yes. Yep.
And he came out and they versed Team 3D. And I remember him because some years later, 2016, I get into independent wrestling. I discover Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. And long and behold, who's in Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling?
Yep.
But Big Daddy with that. He's doing a promo because he's out of center ring with those fucking glasses of his. And I go, I know him. I remember him from Terryville High School from years and years ago. And that is the only Northeast Wrestling shirt that I own. That's the only one I got.
Yeah, those shows were fun. I was going to them heavily around 2005, 2006 and stuff. And I recently saw Big Daddy, and he brought a stack of DVDs with him of Northeast wrestling DVDs that he wanted to show off to me, the shows that he worked. And I could remember specifically going through the stack. And I made a whole stack. I was at these ones, like AJ Styles. I don't know. So AJ Styles and Abyss, maybe? I remember they were on the show, and I remember Christian Cage came in when he was the NWA champion still, when when working for Impact. And I was just like, I think that was Danbury. And I remember getting lost that night on my way home and somehow ended up in fucking Norwalk. I have no idea. But back then, you didn't have GPS in your phone. You know what I mean? I didn't have a smartphone at that time period. So I was like, this is some fucking bullshit. Eventually, I found my way back to Woodbridge, where I lived at the time. So lots of fun at those shows, man.
So I'd kind of like to get your perspective now that you've been doing this for a little bit. Mm-hmm. You've reached out to some friends. I've seen that you have some friends, and you kind of do like an impact breakdown, if you will, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But you've also, again, you've done some interviews, and you're getting a guy like JT Dunn, who hasn't done really anything since the pandemic except be a family guy. Really, he's just trying to spend time and keep that going.
Yep.
How is it for you at this point? You never thought you'd be in this interviewing game pre-virus at all.
Right.
So you've been in it for a little bit. You've had some fun doing some of the interviews, some of the breakdowns. You've been on the fan roundtable. We have a lot of fun. We act like a bunch of jackasses and laugh at each other. Yep. And you get a guy like JT Dunn, and I know he was informative because he's very open.
God. Yeah.
How are you feeling right now? Because confidence level, you've got plenty of knowledge. I mean, we call you the prof. We call you the professor, for Christ's sake, when it comes to the knowledge. But how are you feeling right now up to this point, getting a guy like JT Dunn? How's your confidence level feeling, my friend?
believe it or not, that was one of the first interviews that we did. We were just doing a bunch of reviews prior to that,
Oh,
and that was probably the first or second interview.
oh
And
wow.
my
Okay.
buddy, my buddy Dan is the one that actually reached out. And he's like, "We got JT Dunn." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "JT Dunn said he'll come on a podcast." 2 weeks later, it's a Monday night. We're sitting there. He's cool as hell. And one of the things is that his phone died towards the end of the interview. Literally, we're just sitting there chatting. He ends up calling us back. You know what I mean? Which was cool. He didn't have to do because a lot of guys probably wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? They'd just be like, "Oh well, fuck it, my phone died. It's over."
Hmm.
He was cool enough to rejoin the conversation, and we've had Duke the Dumpster Drosy on. We interviewed him, and we got a couple other people coming up next month. I don't want to necessarily spoil it, and I
Oh
think
no.
that you're gonna like it though.
Awesome.
I had the House of Pain, and it's getting more fun. And sometimes I do a shitload of research. Other times I'm just like, especially if it's a guy like you or Big Daddy. I did no research whatsoever because like I know Big Daddy personally, and he's just a great conversation. You know what I mean? I could sit there every time I meet up with him. We talk about the history of professional wrestling in New England. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Which is like my favorite area for professional wrestling the last 30 years. I think I'm getting off track. I don't know. But
No, that's okay.
but
That,
I do like doing a whole lot of interviews, but I'm trying to create as much content as I possibly can, even if it's a
yeah.
short 2 to 3 minute video. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Doing
that's cool.
doing an unboxing of some autograph I got in the mail or whatever.
Now
So,
being able to see some of these guys live
hmm
may even be like a dumpster Drosy from back in the day where he
yeah,
had his claim to fame. But you get a guy that's like JT Dunn. And you could call his prime now. You could call his prime a little bit ago. You could call his prime still ahead of him. Yeah, his prime, you just don't know what JT Dunn because the guy is so unbelievably good in that ring. You don't know what
exactly.
his full
Yeah,
potential really is.
right.
But getting a guy like that, maybe seeing him live
hmm
previously, it's really cool feeling though, being able to nail somebody, getting them in on the show though. It feels
Right.
like really cool,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the things is you send out massive amount of Facebook messages, Twitter messages, and you get ignored 90% of the time. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, whatever. But then it's just like somebody random, like JT Dunn, that says no problem, or Duke Drosy. I literally messaged Duke Drosy within 5 minutes. It was set up. Like I was just like, that's easy.
Oh
Like
wow,
Jesus Christ. I was like, okay,
awesome.
time and everything. The only thing is when we went to call him, the fucking Skype machine wouldn't connect. So whatever. 20 minutes into it, and he was so generous with his time and just such a cool dude to talk to. But some people contact you too, be like, "Hey, I'd like to come on." Okay, and then if they're wrestlers or whatever, but
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun to do. I mean, just sit there bullshit about wrestling, especially
yeah.
with wrestling. Especially it's like I know they're wrestlers are wrestlers. I don't look at them like, oh, they're just some independent wrestlers. Wrestlers are wrestlers, but it's so much fun because it's like now I'm get to talk to these guys as opposed to like being a little kid where I was like kind of scared to confront wrestlers. You know what I mean? It's like a
No,
celebrity
no,
status type thing.
no, absolutely. Because let's be honest, wrestling, my friend, just like life in itself, is filled because not only is it filled with characters, it's filled with characters that are larger than life, over the top, amped up 1,000,000% for wrestling.
Yep.
So not only do you have to, not only do you, not only do you have to deal with uh, some of what comes around their gimmick or their character, if you will.
Right.
That is pretty fun in its own right. And I want to speak about one person, and I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know if this is going to trigger you or not. I want to go, I want to dive into one person because what I do when I present, hey, blah, 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 if I haven't talked to him in a while, or if I've talked to him a bunch, or I kind of adjust it to who I'm reaching out to when I ask for an interview.
Right.
Um, but this one guy, he asked me, which was kind of weird. Wait, did he ask me or did I?
I think I know I think I know where you're going with this one.
I don't because I am kind of traumatized from this specific interview, and I know it was specifically it was, and I don't remember a lot of episode numbers. I do know Christina Marie was number 50. Courageous Christina Marie. She is episode 50, and I drank moonshine, and we had a hell of a time. But what I am driving at is episode 13. Chris Cannon. Now, what I do, the king of battle, Chris Cannon, if you will.
All right.
What I'm driving at is I presented to where I like to pull the curtain back and take the gimmick, take the character, kind of push it aside. So the fans around in our area, because who knows Elijah Six? Nobody ever got to talk to Elijah Six, but I want to try to get the people to know Elijah Six.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, when it came to time to Chris Cannon, you know what I got from him? When I go, all right, so this is what I do. I pull the curtain back a little bit. We get to know the real person. You know, you could use your real name if you want. You don't have to, whatever. But we just kind of try to pull it back and get the fans to know you. You know what he says to me? This is how this fucking interview came about. The fuck are you talking about?
Okay.
Pull back the curtain? No. I don't fucking pull back nothing. You want to sit down and talk to me, we'll sit down and talk. So that's what I had to do, was sit down and talk to Chris Cannon. What you see is what you get, my man.
So he's going to keep it kayfabe. Just like he did. That was probably one of the worst interactions I've had while trying to get somebody on the show. I wouldn't say worse, but it was the most confusing at first. I was like, is this guy for fucking real? Like, that's why I messaged you right away. Be like, is he just always in character? So,
whenever you messaged me, I was at work and I read your message and I just fucking started dying laughing. And I go, oh God, he did not ask him for an interview. I feel sorry. I am so sorry, Mr. Dos Santos.
Hey, I guess it comes with the territory, right? I mean, I've asked some people that are, you know, legends to come on, and I got was buy my book, and then maybe we'll talk about it. Fucking Bill Apter, okay, told me to buy his book, and then he'd come on my show, and I'm like, all right, never mind. But not that it wouldn't be an interesting book, because I'm sure that book is probably very interesting. The guy's a legend, you know.
Absolutely. Now let me touch upon that real quick. Lio Rush gets out of WWE.
Mm-hmm.
He takes a little hiatus. Nobody sees him on the Facebook or the Twitter or the Gram or nothing. Okay.
Yep.
He pops back on all of his medias. He's got some music going on. But not only that, he's putting out that he wants to do interviews. If you want to do an interview with me, reach out with this email. You reach out to this email. This is your response. It's a $200 fee. And not only that, you can talk maybe one or two questions wrestling. The rest of it has to pertain to his music career. I'm reading. I read this email and I go, "You've got to be shitting me."
That's no. I'll tell you this. We reached out to New Jack.
Ooh.
Yeah. And first off, I'm not the one that did it, but they said it's a $300 fee. Let me know if you're interested. I said $300. I said we don't make $300 off this show. I said, there's no way. I said, we're not making anything back. So I said, there's no way I'm putting money towards it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it turned into him harassing us to see if we wanted to pay the $300 for about a good 2 weeks.
Jesus.
So I was just like, I said, you better say something to him. He might just come and stab you. So
like, no shit.
So I was like, or block your address or something. So it's like. So it was more comical than anything. I couldn't believe it. But I've gotten we've had some sour apples in the bunch, but we've had some great people that have responded, politely declined, such as Steve Corino and Jeff Jarrett politely declined. But we've asked any independent wrestler that wants to come on is more than welcome to come on, because it's just a lot of fun to talk shit and talk wrestling.
It is. I've come to find out when I started doing interviews, that was the reason why I did it, because of the people that we see at these shows, like Flash Waller. He's a student.
Yeah.
I mean, I interviewed him at Center Ring, but we didn't like it, so I still have it, but we kind of scrapped it and we waited till we got something that we were more satisfied with.
Right.
But it's that thing of I want to get the interviews of the people that don't get asked on a regular basis.
Something also that I brought up. You know what I mean? I want to bring out the independent wrestlers, especially the guys around the area and the guys that I know, especially the guys that I know personally, like the Paradise guys and stuff like that, because I was like, I want to get these guys exposure. You know what I mean? Put on an interview. I mean, and first off, maybe they'll get us some exposure as well. You know what I mean? But it's like, I just want to do that because it's fun talking to these people that, you know, you're getting, that I've gotten to know over the last couple of years. I'd prefer, you know, but and once in a while, like I said, I'll reach out to certain people, like bigger names. But next month, I'm telling you, it's going to be a good month.
I look forward to it. I've been on a hiatus, so I definitely look forward to it.
Yeah. So what else would you like to talk about?
I was going to say, when Dirtbag Dan ever reached out, I got all like, I can't breathe. Because I was like, it's been so long. It was probably like a month. The last one previous to that was a fan roundtable.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a little bit of time. And it was Dirtbag Dan. I mean, Christ, I love that guy to pieces. I mean, he is so much fun because you don't know what you're going to get from Dirtbag Dan. And I will tell you, Rick, whenever he started talking, I was doing my introduction and he gave me, you know, which I love, Shut Your Mouth, Don Kincaid, very loudly, which was amazing. But he yelled at me a little bit. And for the rest of the interview, he was not the person that I'm used to hearing from. He was very, the gimmick was down. And he, you know, he just kind of hung out and we talked life and talked, you know, a couple announcements and, you know, or whatever, like we're just doing hanging out. But that's why I did it originally, my man, so we can just talk to him and show the fans that because we see them on the other side of the guardrail does not mean that they had a shit day at their fucking real job, that they had a fight with their girlfriend, that they had to ground their child and they feel like shit for doing it, or they had, you know, they kicked their toe in the middle of the night and screamed, Kincaid, you son of a bitch. You know, I mean, so, I mean, there's real life behind the character. And that's what I wanted to bring to the table of, you know, the stirring the pot, you know?
Right. It's a lot of fun because you, like I said, you're killing it. You're,
well,
you know.
I appreciate it. But then, hey, go ahead.
Oh, no, man. It's just a lot of fun to listen to and watch. It's, you know, I always got my trusty laptop next to me while I'm working. I work from home now, so I'm lucky. I get to bullshit and watch shit ton of wrestling for 8 hours a day while I'm supposed to be punching the keys, you know? So.
I mean, I get a guy like a la Ding Ding, for Christ's sake. This guy, wow. He got the garb on. He turned on that character, and I am telling you, my friend, I still don't even know if it's a character, to be honest with you, because the guy is on all the time. He never turns that switch off. Yeah, he never turns that damn switch off. Not only that, he stalked us one day. Himself, Aladdin, and the Warden, they came to IHOP after a Battlefront show. And it was myself, Sister Laura, Sister Dawn, and Larry, and we were at IHOP, and they were stalking us through the window. And I've got footage, and I've got some kind of not really blooper stuff, but some fun stuff post-event. That's a lot of fun too. Maybe I'll share that stuff too.
Oh, that'd be fun.
We have so much fun. Turning on the gimmick or turning off the gimmick, I've always felt is a choice, and I'm gonna throw a name at you. I reached out to Bobby Orlando because I've done some Kincaid files with him, and I absolutely love me some Bobby Orlando, Bobby Jr., and Bobby Jr. Jr. If you're not familiar with Bobby Jr. Jr., Bobby Jr. Jr. is a goat about yay fucking big.
Okay. My oldest son is 13 years old, and he loves that fucking guy. I legit like because he's into just being a goof. My son.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I remember he was on the thing. He comes out with the goat, and he was just like, "I love this guy." He's always laughing because he loves to laugh. And he's just a big goofball. So it's like it's
yeah,
funny that like none of my kids are into wrestling, by the way, not one. I bring my little one trying to get him, but whatever.
yeah.
He's only 5. Whatever. If it happens, it happens. None of my other kids are. So it's just like my other kids when I do bring them, it's just because I'm going to hang out.
Yeah,
They get into certain things such as goofy characters, you know what I mean, or
yeah.
something like that. They don't necessarily they do end up having a good time and meeting people and hanging out, but they're not necessarily fans of it, But that's one character that they actually ended up
Oh yeah.
enjoying quite a bit.
I was drawn right to him. I met him out in Rhode
Yeah.
Island at the before the Chop Shop 2 closed
Mhm.
recently, and I asked him for a Kincaid file post event. We were out in the hallways. He was rolling. He had his gear rolling down. He had Bobby Jr. He had Bobby Jr. in the arm, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's not even gonna give me the time of day at
Right.
all. So I go, "Hey, Bobby Orlando," and he turns around. And I go, "My name is Don Kincaid," and I give him the spiel and I tell him what I do and all of this, and he goes, "Yeah, okay." He goes, "I don't mind." So I turned on the phone. He turned on the Orlando. Not that he turns it off, believe me. He turns on the Orlando. But my point being is, I reached out to Bobby Orlando for an interview, and I told him what I do, and he goes, "You know what? I know, I know we have a lot of fun, and I've seen at a bunch of shows, but I don't turn this thing off, man. It is what it is." And
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, just come on. So I reiterate and the message, just come on. But he just didn't seem interested to do a full blown interview like that. Maybe something quick, like or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, that's another guy who is the word kayfabe. Uh, if that's not his first, second, and first, middle, and last name, I mean, holy cow, Bobby Orlando is all about the word kayfabe when it comes to
That's
wrestling.
that's pretty incredible. Not I always consider it's a dead art in a way, but there's a certain amount of guys that are keeping it. Chris Cannon being one of them, you know. So
Oh
there's
yeah,
certain guys that are keeping it alive and well, and I respect that. I
I,
like that
I,
a lot.
I mean, for names that we would know, uh, that come off the top of my head, I've always thought pre-canon that Dan DeMann was the guy
Right.
for kayfabe. And then, you have the Pyramids of Power there. They really stick to their guns when it comes to what they're doing. But then Chris Cannon came along, and my God, dude. And I know I've mentioned his name probably way more times in this interview than either of us would probably like to hear when we watch this thing back. Because I watch my material back most times. Uh,
Yeah.
but whenever he came in and I did that interview with him from front to back, it's only like 36 minutes, maybe, but son of
Hmm.
a bitch, that dude, he doesn't break. It is what it is. There is no character. And he'll tell you right off the top, there is no character. The son of a bitch lives in a fucking bathroom. I mean, come on. Like, literally, his rent is $500 and he lives in a bathroom over at Kevin Landry's combine. The dude is a fucking animal. So, I mean, you get what you get with some of these guys.
Let's see. What else did I have to say? Now you go to a lot of wrestling shows throughout the Northeast.
I did for
Uh,
quite some
well,
time, really, like
prior
back to
to
back to back
yeah,
to back to back to back to back, even
yeah,
pre-COVID. And
yeah,
then I kind of stopped going to so many. I tried to get them
right,
all in,
right,
but I tried to chill out a little bit because the cost and the gas and the time, because I wasn't afraid to travel 2 hours to Rhode
oh,
Island or two
yeah,
hours to Massachusetts. But doing that as often as I was going to
yeah.
probably like 15, 20 shows a month.
That's a lot of shows, and wow,
Yeah,
that's incredible.
yeah.
I would do that if I could, but there's no way, monetary wise and travel wise. I don't think my car would make it that far, that many
Hmm.
trips. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Um,
was me and my pop rolling on the roads, just going. I would get out of work at 4 o'clock, go pick him up, go get some gas, grab a little something to eat, either at the gas station or whatever, and we would hit the highway and shoot all the way out to Rhode Island for Thursday night throwdowns. And I did that for 6 months straight,
right.
every single Thursday, and even on Saturdays when they had their bigger shows.
Those shows look amazing. Like,
So much fun.
do they stream them anywhere? Like the Thursday shows, or no? Or do they have a
They,
YouTube channel?
they do have their own network, but they don't stream them. What they do is they kind of do what the WWE network does with Raw and SmackDown. You
Okay.
can't watch Raw and SmackDown live, and you can't watch it even the next day. You have to wait like a couple weeks, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken. Probably even a good few weeks to see said Raw and SmackDown. Um, and that's what they do on their network, if I'm not mistaken. Everything is filmed, but it's released later on, so you get the money for the footage because it's a paid network.
Right. So one question is, you've brought them up. We've brought them up several times. WWE. What do you feel about the current product between Raw and SmackDown these days? Honestly, you can give your honest opinion. You can be negative or positive.
Well, I find it obviously wrestling changes eras, just like the fan has changed, evolved,
Right.
not changed, but evolved over time. The
Hmm.
fan is definitely not the same fan 5 years ago,
Right.
and wrestling is not the same wrestling 5 years ago. We've seen that
Right.
firsthand.
Right.
Um, but for the past, I don't know, decade maybe, it's lacked these storylines that stick to the
Right.
ribs.
Right. I get you.
They turn over their stuff too soon. The only, I like long title runs, to be honest with you.
I've always been. That's always been a problem with me in that company because if you always look back at like older NWA and WWF, Hogan had this first title run for like what 5 years or something like that, or Flair had it ultimately pretty long time. Longer title runs, it's more important and realistic, and it makes that story much more interesting. With the
It
WWE, the
take
turnover, it's like it's
Yeah,
3 weeks. 3 weeks,
right.
starts on a Monday Night Raw, ends 3 weeks later on a pay per view, Monday Night Raw again. The whole new thing is going. The whole new angles and story, and it's like
Yeah,
that's been something they've been doing since like 98, 99, since the beginning of the Attitude Era, to be honest with you. But it's like maybe it didn't click in everybody's head that it was the crash TV and fast storylines. Longer storylines to me just seem more important, and it really just sucks those people in way more. And I think that, personal opinion, then I'll let you finish up your
oh
story.
no,
Sorry. Vince is just, he found what worked 20 something years ago, and he just has not tried to alter that and try to make it better to to attract different fans. And he's just, judging from what I've heard, the stats between, Alvarez and the stats and all that other crap, it's just like the ratings is dropping, dropping, dropping. Less people are watching, and I think that has a big part to do with why
yeah,
they're not watching the product anymore.
I absolutely have to agree with you, because once said pay-per-view is done and they stop whatever they're doing to start something new with not just one storyline, with everything that's going on. And
Right.
sometimes, like the Sasha and Bailey thing, they've kind of they'll drag maybe a couple pay-per-views long, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's not like what we were grown to accustomed to. And I'm not saying that you have to take the old school mentality of a long title run and utilize it, because we all know the modern day fans' attention span is absolutely pew 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 pew. It's like Ricochet Rabbit. But uh, give a guy like CM Punk
Yeah.
what he did with his title run. It gave us Look at what they're fucking still doing, for Christ's sake. They are still chanting his name, CM Punk, at venues nowadays.
That just shows how influential of a character, or I wouldn't say character, but you know what I mean, talent he was. And
What he did.
because, yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, so if you just, I'm trying to think without sounding ridiculous, but if you just did similar stuff with the title reigns, you know what I mean, or just the storylines in general. I
Yeah.
think it's that, like you said, that the modern fans' attention span isn't, you know, into the longer reigns. Is it because WWE has programmed their fans to think that way, as opposed to the fans actually being able to sit there and tolerate it that long?
I actually do, because I think Vince and the people behind Vince were trying to stay in the modern times with the
Right.
music that they've brought to the table of their themes when it opens up on Monday night, every single Monday night, with the Nickelback and such, and Skillet. And they're using these modern names and they're trying to cater. But I still say that if you keep a storyline going, and it doesn't even have to be a specific storyline with one specific wrestler, and I only use CM Punk because they gave him a long title run. They got the fans so invested in him, like a Hulk Hogan, like something that, even though Stone Cold didn't have this gigantic reign of 2, 3, 4 years or whatever, the people were so behind his character, and that's what that title run, I believe, that's what that title run did for CM Punk's character, and
Right.
that's why they still chant his name,
Right.
because of the title reign itself and the original pipe bomb.
Right. That was incredible, because when I saw that on TV the first time I saw it, I was like, I didn't know if that was really him going off. He
Yeah.
was. So I fell for it.
Yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
be the first one to admit I'm a huge mark, but I was just like, is this real? I was like, no. I was like, it can't be real, because they would have cut it off already. But you know what I mean. So it's like they let him speak, and I was like, it is definitely the most incredible fucking promo that. I'm not even a CM Punk fan, to be honest with you. I
Well,
enjoy I enjoy his work somewhat, but is he the best in the world? Not by my personal opinion, but I definitely
I'm enough.
it's talent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm totally enough with this whole CM Punk thing, and I don't want to
yeah,
sound like he didn't put in, he didn't give to the industry,
right.
but for crying out loud, stop asking this dude when he's coming back to wrestling. Stop asking him, hey, have you talked to Vince lately? Just shut up with this
Right.
CM Punk. That has been on my plate for a good couple years now. I mean, for real,
Yeah.
man. Just leave it alone, man.
He's disenchanted with the wrestling business, the
Yeah.
business part of the wrestling industry. So he, opted out, basically. Now he can go anywhere, really. I mean, sure, if he went to Japan, he'd probably have a very successful run. Not even long. And I think that if he ever does come back, he's not coming back for an extensive run. It'll be a few matches here and there. He's older now. I don't think that not that he's older, but he's still younger than me, I believe. I just think he's older for that kind of business. I don't think that he'd really do like
Yeah.
a huge run. Personal opinion.
I actually think that the Thunderdome just looks like two wrestlers, one referee, smack dab thrown in the middle of a video game.
Yes.
That's the way I see it. As soon as the pictures came out, I'm looking at it and I'm like,
It's
the fuck is
ridiculous.
this? Yeah,
It's
I'm like, what is this?
And like I
Now,
said, it's only a matter of time before someone flashes their dick out on screen. I just the whole concept of it is it's just
yeah.
horrific. I mean, you sign up
I'll be-
online and you watch from whatever, your phone, computer, whatever, and you just sit there and cheer. And I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm too old and I don't understand the concept of it, but I just find it ridiculous, personally.
I feel what they're trying to do. I get what
Right.
they're trying to do, but look at what AEW is doing now. They're even putting in X amount of fans, not just workers up in the front. They're actually putting some fans at
Yeah.
their pay-per-views and their dynamites or whatever. I don't know if they were doing it at their dynamites as of yet, but I know they did it at the All In, if I'm not mistaken. But The only thing that I really did not like about what WWE did on the transition between zero fans to the Thunderdome,
Mm-hmm.
trying to recreate, or copy what AEW was doing by putting a few of the workers up front and having them at least make a little bit of noise.
Right.
When WWE put up all of that plexiglass, put brand spanking new merch on every single person, every single show, every single week, and made them like run up to the plexiglass and be like, "Bleh!" or do stupid shit like that,
There,
that really disheartened me.
that was probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen because there were obvious plants, actors,
Yes.
whatever. And it's just like, and
Yeah.
they would only focus on them, say they're big, like a big impact move.
Yeah.
And, then you just see like, like a fan react dead.
Yeah.
So it was just ridiculous, that whole concept.
And then you watch. Now, I can't tell you how I do watch it, but I have kind of been trying to catch up on the G1 climax right now. And you watch something like the WWE, you watch what they're trying to do in a production manner with
Right.
this Thunderdome. Son of a bitch. And I know you want the grandeur and all of that, and you want the spectacle of the WWE. I get that 1,000%. But
Right.
with what's going on, if you watch New Japan, son of a bitch, give us at least half of that.
Right.
Give us half of the in ring with what you're trying to do with production,
Mm-hmm.
and please, the ratings would you
Right.
would see it just a little bit
Absolutely.
without what we were talking about storylines.
Right. I think that they're killing it over there in Japan. New Japan Pro Wrestling. I've been watching, keeping up a little bit as well. I won't tell you where I watch it either, but it's been quite enjoyable. It's probably been the most enjoyable product since they've returned. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
New Japan. So between that
I
and I
like
mean, AEW's been a relatively decent product during the pandemic. Well, I wouldn't say decent. I'd say they're pretty much killing it for a good while, with the exception of a few episodes here and there.
now I really like the numbers that came out on when they split for because of the NBA finals or
Right.
the playoffs or whatever was going on. I was waiting because I like to see the ratings come out. I'm a numbers guy when it comes to the ratings, and I
Okay.
know that they're not always they're as true as you can get by the Nielsen ratings, if you will.
Right.
But it doesn't always per se show the DVD and all of the streaming or whatever all at once on that same rating. So I
Right.
get that,
Right.
but I still do watch the numbers now when they're both competing against each other and they're reaching like 700 something thousand, 600 and something thousand, when they can get well more than that.
Right.
Then they split the days up, right?
Yep.
AEW breaks 1 million. There's a bunch of hoopla about them breaking the million mark. NXT, they did something like 860 some odd or
Right.
something like around that mark on that
Mm-hmm.
same week. They both did a favor for themselves. Why
Right.
they have to sit there and try to make this a Wednesday night war when it's really not helping either one of them for the viewership? If they
Right.
split it up, we get to watch both shows, son of a bitch, and you guys get to get the ratings. Why they don't get that, I don't know.
I have no idea. I mean, I don't care because I usually watch one live, DVR the other. Well, when they're both on Wednesdays. Tuesday nights, I'm too busy. I usually watch Impact. You know what I mean? And now prime time is on the UWN show, so I've been kind of leaning towards that the last 2 weeks, which I'm, like
Yeah.
I said, killing it. You got to watch some championship wrestling from Hollywood.
Yeah.
I really love that product. So
It's fun as F over there, isn't it?
yeah, it really is. It's that guy Marquez is really. We're going back to that 2 hours later, but it's really good. It's a really good product. I've been a fan of theirs since it was NWA Hollywood prior to, whatever, them splitting
Yeah.
up and him getting out of the NWA for a little while, a couple of years. But
I know we have had a lengthy conversation here,
yeah,
um, but I would like to bring up lucky having a conversation like this than when I interviewed Dan DeMann and he made me talk to a fucking Funko Pop doll for 2.5 hours.
What?
I shit you not. I I do my introduction, the camera pans, and it's sitting on a Dandaman, hand custom made by Davy Cole out in Colorado, and it was a Dandaman Funko Pop, and I talked to that some bitch for 2.5 hours.
Davy Cole was the guy that was from the area, the wrestler that was from the area at one time.
Yes,
Him.
yes.
I remember when he was first coming up in the earlier 2000s, probably 2004, 2005, maybe a little bit after. I'm trying to remember. And he was pretty impressive back then. I don't know. I actually forgot about him until I started seeing him a couple years ago pop up. Is he still wrestling at all?
Well,
Or is,
what he no, he's more of an art guy. He
okay.
does canvases for hand. Check this shit out. Promotions will send him a canvas.
Yeah.
He'll open that shit up and he'll hand paint the New Japan logo and send it back. He'll hand paint the MLW logo, send it back. The Beyond logo and send it back. He's doing Beyond t-shirts and his own art. He does hand painted kind of stuff. He does like stickers and stuff like that. But he's more and he's still in the wrestling world, but on the art end of it
On the
because he
art end.
has retired from wrestling.
Okay.
But yeah, his work is really cool. And to see his stuff on TV, hand painted canvases watching a New Japan event, it just sends chills right up my fucking arms, down my back, dude, because it's like, that's Davey Cole's work, baby. I watched him paint
Yep.
it in stages. I seen him sent it back. Now I'm seeing it on TV.
That's pretty amazing that he does that now. One thing I want to
Yeah.
ask you. You said 2016, and just a topic that's been pretty big in the independent wrestling circuit the last couple of years. It drives me fucking nuts. I'll tell you that. I want to get your opinion on the whole entire intergender scene.
Okay. Me personally,
Mm-hmm.
I am neutral across the board. When it comes to the talent, I've always respected them, lifted them,
Okay.
and all of that. I don't care if you're black, white, small, thin, fat. I don't care if you're trans, if you're bi, if you're straight, if you're whatever they got going on nowadays. It does not matter to me. When it comes to intergender wrestling, again, it doesn't matter to me. And I actually enjoy it because there's two things about this. A, just because a girl is going against a guy does not mean that it cannot look believable.
Okay.
Now, if you call the match in a way that tells the story where you're not going to have her come and punch you in the fucking jaw.
Right.
I don't care if you're the guy the size of Chris Cannon, if you're the guy the size of Brian Cage, or if you're the guy the size of Bullet Joe. A guy is a guy and a girl is a girl. That's how the world is perceived. We all know that.
Right.
So when you tell these stories, look at what Tessa Blanchard did with Sami Callihan in Impact Wrestling. Did that not take her career and totally skyrocket it?
Okay. My personal opinion. I don't particularly enjoy it. It's just growing up as a fan, I like the traditional style. You know what I mean? I'm not necessarily into hardcore, but it does have its place. And such as this, I did think Sammy and Tessa put on a hell of a series. I will fully admit that. Because those two are probably two of my favorites actually in the business today, especially Sammy. And Tessa, I think, is just, I don't know where she is now. She's in limbo, but I can't wait to see what's next for her. But I don't know. I did think those two, that was a good series of matches, but I don't particularly care for it. I'm not going to say anything bad about it, though.
No. Now, I've asked. I think I've asked almost every single wrestler that I've interviewed what their thoughts were about the intergender. And I've never come across, I would never wrestle a woman kind of thing. I feel that most wrestlers, male, are open-minded to getting in with the ring with a female competitor, but not all of them are open-minded to doing such because of that fact that I just spoke of. That how is a girl going to come up to me and do this or do that and get a fucking win over my stature? Because I'm this tall. I'm this big. I've worked out with weights my whole fucking life. I look like this. This is what my physique is looking like. And you're telling me that she's going to come in here and beat me in a wrestling match. So some guys just aren't about it, where most that I've run into are.
Right.
Now, I don't mind it because if you can tell a story in the ring and make it believable, that's fine. But if you come off all wonky, like she's coming in all firestorming and just absolutely annihilating you, it's just not the story that should be told.
So you like
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You like some believability in the
yes,
approach.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I take a piece of Tessa Blanchard when she talked with Chris Jericho on his podcast. I never threw one punch. I threw forearms.
Right.
Because that's where I'm coming from now. I'm coming with that strong style. I'm not coming in with a full-blown closed fist or making it, I'm not punching him in the face. I'm coming in with these forearm smashes because that's going to be the story I'm telling. If I'm going to come at him in that manner, it's not going to be a punch. And I'm using the punches over and over here, and I apologize for that. Mm-hmm. But when you're coming into a fight and some guys will just come in and start fisticuffing, you know what I'm saying?
What'd you think about her series? Well, not I guess series, but the matches with Brian Cage.
Now
I thought that was a little less believable, personally.
It is because of his size, and that's where I was going with that.
Right.
I just didn't get why they would do, and I see Chris Dickinson and beyond. He's been capping off some of their events, and I will tell you, he went against Priscilla Kelly. Mm-hmm. In a match at was it Don't Wear Sunscreen or shit? I think it was their last one before this Shangri-La Struggle or whatever it was called. I don't even. It's such a weird name.
Whatever.
But I am telling you, and I'm getting to your question. Seeing a guy, and I've heard by many workers that Chris Dickinson is probably the hardest dude they've ever been hit from in the ring.
Really.
Watching Chris Dickinson go against Priscilla Kelly, and then I watched Chris Dickinson go against Matt Makowski. He came out of MMA. He's been there's been a big hype about him coming into wrestling, and Beyond got him. And I am not taking away anything from this last match that we just saw at Shangri-La. Don't get me wrong in this, because that was a fine match to watch. Priscilla Kelly versus Chris Dickinson. I'm telling you, check this shit out. If you're looking for an intergender match, and I know there's a lot of this stuff where a bigger dude, not just closed fist, I'm not saying closed fist, but with the moveset that they used against each other,
right?
It was almost like two big dudes going at it. Right. It really was something to behold. But if you're not into that style of wrestling,
right,
that's the difference. Not intergender. What I mean is getting a stiff arm, getting thrown into the ring, maybe a pop-up power bomb. I'm just using this as an example.
Right.
You pin her, she kicks out at 2. Now this match continues for like 20 some odd minutes. All right. So that's what I'm talking about, where if that's the story you're going to tell, some wrestling fans like that. Some wrestling fans don't like that. So it's really a matter of taste when it comes to that. And I will tell you, I will adjust to what they're doing in the ring, because AEW is different than WWE. That's very evident. That's very obvious.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I also ask a question to every single wrestler that I do interview, and I know it's kind of a repetitious question, but do you watch the current product? And their favorite programming to watch, I will say probably 90% of the time, their answer is NXT is my favorite. Now, you take that into consideration because they keep that independent feel, if you will,
mm-hmm.
compared to what they do on SmackDown and Raw. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm bringing that back to Beyond, that independent feel. So you can take AEW, it's spot monkey-ish, if you will, because of who they have in the ring. Okay.
Right.
But then you get some of this stuff where it's like it's Smash Mouth in your face, but it's Chris Dickinson going against a girl. You have to appreciate it to appreciate what you just saw.
Right.
That's my point. That's pretty much, and I do long-winded answers. We all know that. But that is really my point about that, because let's look at Chris Statlander.
Right.
She went in and beyond against John Silver, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. And again, that skyrocketed her career, to be honest with you, with the performance that she put in on that one match alone. So
Right.
Beyond has done this on a consistent basis. Layla Hirsch comes in. Have you ever seen Layla Hirsch work?
I've heard the name. I have not seen them work.
She is a little woman that would fuck you up in a heartbeat. She
Right.
will F you up. It was one of these things that Beyond does. They get a guy to go against a girl, they put her over, they make her shine with her abilities.
Right.
So that's what I really, really do to come full circle. That's what I think I truly, now that I've talked about it a little bit, that's what I truly appreciate what they've done with intergender wrestling now, that it's evolved into what it is now, to be honest with you.
It's got its roots. You don't realize it now, but it's got its roots to when we were kids. You know what I mean? There'd be like specialty matches on like a WCW. Paul Heyman or Paulie Dangerously and was it Missy Hyatt or was it Medusa? One or the other. I don't remember exactly, but even probably there might be stuff earlier than that I'm just not even aware of. So I find it interesting that I didn't realize that it actually had its roots that far until I go back and watch all this footage on the network, and all of a sudden it's just like Jesus Christ, like this shit's always been around. You know what I mean? But it's a special attraction. You know what I mean?
Yes. Then it was, and now it's kind of again the evolution of wrestling and the evolution of the fan. Because if the fans aren't appreciating it, they're not going to keep feeding it to us.
Right.
So it's been the evolution of both that's given us to where we are now with intergender wrestling.
And WWE has not really capitalized on it in the modern era.
No.
And I don't know if it's something that they're staying away from, but if you go back, China wrestled men, you know what I mean? And there might be other stuff before that I can't place, but, it definitely has happened
so
in that company.
Let me kind of spin this around and ask you something about the current product with Impact, because we've seen what Impact started doing the pay-per-views every other 2 weeks. It was like $5 or some shit on a Wednesday night.
Yep.
Way back when it very first started, you couldn't even watch it on TV.
Right.
It gets on TV. It evolves from what it was. They move up to Canada. Everybody leaves the company. They figure out, wait a minute, we're not going to survive like this. They come back to the States. Now that they come back to the States, their roster is made up of nothing but independent wrestlers.
Yeah.
You've seen the evolution of it. A lot of people are kind of watching it a little bit more than they were previously when this whole Canada transition was going on.
Right.
How are you feeling about the current Impact vibe, I guess, because it's totally changed from the transition pre-Canada to Canada. Now what they're doing, they were like almost infiltrating all sorts of indie companies. Now they do their own thing with all the independent wrestlers. I personally think it's fun because it's a lot of familiar faces, but there's no mainstay roster like they used to have.
So currently, right now, I think it's possibly the most underrated TV show that there is. And I think that 2021 is going to be a huge year for them because they've been really building it for it. I met Eric Young about a month ago, and I flat out told him that I absolutely love the promos that he's doing to build up for Bound for Glory in October. And because they're really focusing on, without saying it drastically, they're showing him in a prison cell. Basically, he's in prison in WWE, being held back from doing what he's doing. He's come back to Impact, and he's fucking killing it like he used to. You know what I mean? He's one of the freaking. He's so talented. I think that they have a great roster, and they hired a bunch of guys that recently got fired from WWE. I think they're doing a great job, because they really, once they got on Access, the product lacked for quite some time
Mhm.
when they first got there. And I think that the last like probably 2, 3 months they've been really building it up and they're really getting somewhere now. It's really starting to fully develop, and I think that it's going to be I think it's going to take everybody by storm next year. Like I think by then it's going to be the promotion to watch.
Now, do you follow the ratings at all? The
I
viewership?
I don't. I've flat out said that I don't give a fuck about ratings. I just
Mhm.
want to watch that product. You know what I mean?
Watch the product.
Um, I used to kind of pay attention. I mean, I always see Brian Alvarez post the ratings for Wednesday nights and Mondays and stuff like that, but I don't.
Mhm.
I could really care less. I don't even know how to keep up on the Impact ratings because I watch it on Twitch.
Okay.
So, and then that's not going to obviously say how much ratings they have
Right.
through Access. I mean, because I don't even know anybody that has Access TV. So
Yeah.
it's a channel that very few cable systems have. But it's supposed to be a big deal for them. But they got the television network they were on was fine when they were on Pop, and we were able to watch it. I think on Thursdays or
Hmm.
whatever night it was. And I made sure I was in front of my TV every night, every Thursday night, and I thought it was a really good product then. I went to Bound for Glory 2018. I think it was one of the greatest shows I've ever been to be honest with you. And it just kind of lacked once they lost that cable deal. It just kind of went downhill, but it was still developing. Then now I think it's starting to finally. I think Tommy Dreamer, I think, is the head of booking there. So that guy knows what the hell he's doing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just think he needs the right people to put in those positions. You know what I mean? I mean, and I think
Mhm.
for a while there were a lot of people leaving, jumping ship to AEW or what have you.
Right.
So I think it's a really good product. But it's just not enough eyes on it right now.
And before, and I know I don't even know how long we've been running, but
Almost 2 hours.
before this does come to an end, I
Yeah,
want to swing back to the current NWA. It kind of went through a very, very wacky transition with the whole speaking out thing.
yeah.
And now we're seeing Ricky Starks in AEW.
Hmm.
We're seeing Thunder Rosa come in with her belt
Yeah.
and defending her NWA belt on AEW. How are you feeling about this conglomeration? I don't want to say it's a relationship, but you got to
Right.
have the green light in order to make all of that happen. So, how do you feeling about this NWA talent kind of going to the AEW and getting on the stage like that?
With Ricky Starks, it was his contract had actually expired, and then he left the NWA, which was kind of shocking because must have been a pretty damn short contract. With Thunder Rosa, she's still under contract with the NWA, but
Mhm.
there is some sort of working agreement there. I don't know if
Oh,
but I'm happy because that means that she's on my television. She's definitely she's, I don't know if you've ever heard me say it, but she's definitely my favorite wrestler today, female wise. Um, I'd like to see that she's on my TV every week, and I want the NWA television product to come back. Um,
mm,
and I've heard rumors that Nick Aldis might be popping up in AEW. We'll see what happens, and there's going to be other NWA talent. The NWA recently, I guess, James Storm's contract was also up recently as well, so
mhm,
he's on his way out as well. So
yeah.
we're gonna have to
There
see
was
where these guys pop up.
there was a picture of James Storm that I shared a little while ago, probably a couple days back. I swear it's his body, his head on Drew McIntyre's body. I don't know what. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that picture. If he's actually in that kind of shape, but holy shit!
He's Yeah. Now I mean he's. I follow him on Instagram, and I see he's constantly in the gym. You know what I mean? He's another cool guy too. He's like retweets me all the time, so it's pretty cool,
That's
dude.
cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Good
cool,
shit.
dude. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've seen this. My Cowboy James Storm, a cowboy
Oh,
hat. So
nice.
$5 on highspots.com. So he's pretty awesome, dude. So yeah.
That's good.
Well, it's been about 2 hours. What do you say we wrap it up? Because it is getting pretty late, and I still got to wake up in the morning. So
and we could just keep going and going and
I
going.
literally can. We're definitely gonna have to do a part two at some point for sure.
I would love to, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
man.
mean, I mean, when I did lengthy ones, when I first started doing interviews, I was splitting it up. Like if I did an hour and a half or 2 hours, I was splitting that some bitch up, and you were only getting half of it this week and half of it the next week. So,
Right.
I mean, even if you want to split it up, I don't even give a shit. Holy cow!
No, I'll probably upload the whole 2 hours, and then at some point we'll have to come back and do this again. Because, like I said, we can. There's always more stuff to talk about.
It's wrestling. It's.
Yeah, it's life,
Hey,
I guess.
I really thank you so much for your invite, Rick. This was really cool, and
I
I'm so
appreciate it,
glad
man.
that you're continuing this. Whenever you originally reached out and we're trying to figure out if you're going to actually do this kind of stuff, I'm like, don't be scared, man. Just jump in. Be Rick Del Santo. Just bring your professionalism and your
Right.
personality, and you're going to be fine, man. So I am so glad to see you still rolling on this thing.
Well, I appreciate that, and like I said, you actually taught me how to work Skype. That's the other thing. So, and coming on the round table, that definitely boosted up the confidence to say, hey, I'm
Yeah.
really going to do this. So now I'm 52, 53 episodes in already.
Oh,
So
yeah, nice.
we're doing it. We're just
Very cool.
doing 3 or 4 a week. So
Glad
all
to
right,
hear.
Don.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, hang on.